mouth in it. All right. Thank you for that. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna come in here. I'll make you the host. I'm on mine.
That's you.
Okay. Happy Monday, everybody, and I hope everybody's ready to rock this week. We've got a couple of things that are going to help us take this business of yours to the next level. So first and foremost, this is called Planned Prospecting for Success. Now, this is, of course, a training that I've done in my region for a couple of years now, so please forgive the think bigger background, but I'll tell you what, this is something that I want you all to get back into the mindset of thinking bigger and how we can continue to grow. So let me put this in presenter mode. Can you see my screen? Okay, perfect. So let's start diving into the purpose behind why this is so important. Number one, we have a big number to pursue. We talk about 8.5 million, $9 million. We have agents that we have an agency that's doing it. We have the potential to do that, right? And so after looking at several things in Epic, we looked at a few leads and several layers. There was a little bit of a disconnect on where everybody was with it, but here's the thing. We found a way to grow. So let's talk about the purpose. The purpose for classifying leads is to provide us a standard on how we need to organize leads in the field, right? Because we need to stay on the path towards an opportunity of a lifetime. You don't want to be going out there and spinning your wheels, not knowing what is happening, right? Because you're just going to these businesses and you're not certain about what's going to be coming from them. So giving your leads a level of priority in Epic will allow for you to be able to keep working towards the opportunity of a lifetime. One of the things I want to have everybody adopt and really embrace is that you're never going to rise to the level of your goals. You always fall to the level of your systems. And so when you have a solid system in place on where you're going into businesses because you've prioritized it, you're going to create that consistent system of creating results. All right. So let's talk a little bit more about the benefits, right? Number one is consistency. We need to have cash flow in order for our business to thrive and grow. So with this, you're going to create more of that. Number two, you're going to have more pipeline awareness. This is critical. You need to know where your money's coming from. Where do I need to place my time and energy into to create a result? You can make more money, but you can't make more time. So this is designed for you to create that opportunity each and every week. And then, of course, we talked about an increase in income, right? We all want that. So now let's talk about planned prospecting for success a little bit more in detail. Now, many of you are leaders. Many of you have, never done this before. But here's the deal. A lot of the times when we have new agents that don't know this business, they tend to lean on emotion when they start. So why not develop a logical perspective on classifying leads? We need to take the emotion out of it, right? I know there's been times where you've got into a business when you first started and you talked to the gatekeeper, she complimented your shirt and you're like, yeah, I'm about to close that thing. Listen, that's how incorrect sometimes emotions can be. So important thing to understand is the logical understanding. And so we're going to dive into the definitions of that. Taking a look at this page here, this is located in the training guide that is provided to the new agent when they come aboard the Cannington agency. This is located in page number 28. Now, as you all know, look, this is something that I would encourage every one of you managers to review every week to ensure when you're looking at routes, do they have some of these indicators of success? You can't just have all qualified leads and nothing else other than those to create success when it comes to people that have been with us for 60, 90, and beyond so that they can create more opportunities. So let's talk about those definitions for just one moment, right? So I know there's been a little bit of maybe some disconnect on the follow-up lead, okay? So the follow-up lead is your generic business or the generic result of just walking into a business and not meeting a decision maker. We call that the pink leads, right? The magenta colored leads. When you're looking at your map, that is what you're going to find. And so when you, however, go in and you build rapport with the gatekeeper and figure out that the DM is usually in at a better time at this day, you generate what we call a scheduled follow-up. Okay. Now, the definition of that is a business that you may or may not have met the decision maker, but was given a specific day and time to come back to meet with the decision maker, right? So understand the difference between the two. You walk in, you don't get anywhere. You don't get any good information to know when to come back where you can schedule it specifically. then it's a regular follow-up lead. This is generated by just clicking the worksite walk-in button and logging a percentage and closing out of that. A scheduled follow-up, you have to set an activity and select follow-up with a date and a time based on the information that you gathered. The next opportunity that you'll generate from this is either a conversion, right, an appointment, or a presentation on the spot. And if you don't get either of those, our job is to generate a warm or a hot lead, right? I need to ask questions, right? The word prospecting, right? When I think about prospecting, I think about miners, right? People that are in a gold mine, right? Digging for gold. What are they doing? They're swinging their pickaxe, trying to create, opening opportunities to find gold. Our questions that our agents are asking are what generate these leads types. They're not just going to fall in your lap, and you're not going to get this information by just walking in. You have to ask. So one of those things you need to always remember is, are our people asking the information before classifying a certain lead type? Okay. Now we've got a hot lead, a business that you want to come back to within the next 2 weeks because you were given specific information that there's interest. Guys, look, 2 big pieces of criteria here. They have to have been given specific information that there's interest, and it has to be within a 2-week window. I don't want everything and anything in this block of my epic, right? I want it, if it's in here, it's because I'm anticipating a presentation or a close. And so when I pull it up using the layer, I have to prioritize it to create opportunities for growth. All right. So that's where the biggest pieces here is. I put those in there. If they don't meet those 2 pieces of criteria, it's not a hot lead. Draw the line there. Be specific, because you don't want to create so much traffic in these layers that it's hard to manage. So the logic behind these is to help your agents click a layer, visibly see where the money is going to come from, and add them to the route just because they're putting accurate definitions behind these leads, okay? Now, once we have gone in and given these leads classification, so once I market myself to 100 businesses in a given week and I generate a certain number of these particular leads being a scheduled follow-up, right? A majority of businesses that I run into, I'm not going to see a DM, but I will get information. I'm going to ask for information about the DM schedule. I was talking to Brian. He's a business owner. A lot of you are business owners as well. You all have routines. You all have certain processes in which you carry out your day. Business owners are the same. So we have to make sure that we value the scheduled follow-up and prioritize ourselves in getting into these opportunities, because you know when the time is to get into these businesses, which lead to more conversions or DMs met. All right. So now that I've walked into 100 businesses, I've generated a number of each type of those leads every Thursday, right? Before I get into Friday prep days, I need to take a look at how many appointments, scheduled follow-ups, hot and warm leads, and follow-ups, pink leads, right, that I have available. And I'm going to subtract those total number from 100. And that's how many leads I need to qualify from Friday to Monday pack calls. Now, if you're working a new area, as you know, new agents, they need to strive for 100 pack calls every single week, because they need to build some solid amount of leads that have good foundation. Okay. Now, moving on. Understand that planned prospecting for success creates a logical understanding of how to properly work your leads, right? This is going to help you project your future opportunities, right? A good, healthy business can be projected. Our business is pretty predictable. However, if you don't have ways to really project or take a look at your 4-week forecast and look at your layers to see where your money's coming from, it does tend to shake things up a bit. So it's imperative for us as leaders to understand this part of the process and make sure that our agents are doing it, so that we can coach them and be able to visually see on their routes that they have money or cash flow for them and their families that's going to be created for that week. All right. So also we talk about, this is going to help promote proper pipeline management, right? I know this is a term used in recruiting, but for field purposes, for agents, pipeline management is also a term, and it's whatever is in your epic, right? I was looking through some leads, and Brian and I saw some notes under the scheduled follow-up layer, and there were some notes that didn't indicate that this should have been a scheduled follow-up. It was, hey, spoke to Jenny. I spoke to the gatekeeper. Jenny wasn't in. I'm going to try to follow up next week to see if she's in. That's not a scheduled follow-up, which I'm going to talk a little bit more on how to generate those in just a moment. But that's how important it is. As I was going through those layers, there was a lot of fog as I was trying to figure out, okay, how are these agents maneuvering through the areas that they're working? And so anyway, this is going to help us really manage the pipeline as far as leads go in our communities. All right. Now, we talked about increasing the money-making opportunities on those agents' routes, right? When you're checking agents out, right, you want to make sure they have the right number of stops, but making sure that they have the right type of leads that are going to scream success off the page. I got to have butterflies in my stomach when I look at an agent's route, right? I got hot leads in there. I got some warm leads that they met with the business owner 3 months ago. They told them to come back at a certain time of the year. They're working these leads effectively. I'm getting excited now because my people out in the field that are working day in and day out are getting put in positions to win. This is why this is so critical. We cannot afford to let up on this stuff because we got big things ahead of us. All right. So now let's talk about scheduling a follow-up. Okay. This is, of course, a business that you may or may not have met the decision maker. Okay. But you were given a specific day and time to meet the decision maker. So a couple of things, and this is critical. Listen to me very carefully. You must ask it this specific manner or you're going to get another type of response. For instance, I'm going to go in, I'm going to talk to the gatekeeper, right? Build my rapport. Would you let Brian know that Bruce is here to see him? He's not in. No worries, Jenny. Would mornings or afternoons usually work better for Brian? I need to give them an option to pick from, or they're normally going to tell me it's hard to tell. If I say, when's the best time to catch them? Right? When's the better time? There's really never a good time in business to catch somebody. But there is a morning or an afternoon that they're usually in. So giving them those options, you're more likely to get this information, which gives you the right amount to create a scheduled follow-up. All right. Now, the second question, hey, listen, Jenny, thank you for that. Let me ask you this. I know Mondays and Fridays for me are terrible. What are his bad days? Right? I'm always in the office on Fridays, so I know I can't meet with John or Brian. So that's why it's imperative that by asking that mornings are better, right? Or afternoons, and then asking for the bad days and not the good days, you're going to know what days are payroll days, what days are never in, what days they're having meetings. There is just a ton. So now, a couple of things, right? So the way to log this, I just put an illustration here. I've got a couple of screenshots I'm going to share with you on how to log a scheduled follow-up. I've got people in the agency right now that are logging it already, that know how to log scheduled follow-ups. The only thing that was missing was that we didn't truly connect the dots on what is a scheduled follow-up, right? And that is something that gave you enough time, right? Enough information for you to schedule it on your route, not you scheduled it with the gatekeeper to come back and meet the DM. It was you got enough information to get back in the car, think critically, look over your 4 weeks forecast and know that you're going to be back in the area and start stacking up your scheduled follow-ups for the next day that you're in or the next week that you're going to be there, right? So now, after I've generated this information, because I prospected, right, I asked the right questions, I then go in, set activity to follow up, schedule a date that aligns with your 4-week forecast or the time frame that was given. Now, here's the thing to understand. When I get this information, what should you expect? You're going to get a higher DMs met percentage. Why? Because you're putting stops on your route that are aligning with the DM schedule. Right? You're minimizing the amount of time that you're going into businesses and DMs aren't in. So this is critical. Let's dial it in. All right. Moving on. So the way that you log a scheduled follow-up. First, you're going to click worksite walk-in after you click view record. Many of you know how to do this. If you don't, please get with your respective leader or with myself and we'll figure out how to get that rocking. All right. After you click worksite walk-in, you're going to notice, right, from the top to the bottom, you're going to see due date, first walk-in, virtual. And then, of course, you've got your little drop down here, which at that point, when you click that, you're going to have appointment and follow up. Now, this is where clicking follow up is going to log a scheduled follow up, right? Now, if you don't select this, it's still going to be a follow-up. It just won't be something that you are scheduled to put yourself in a position to meet with the owner because you didn't get information. Does that make sense? So I want to make sure everybody's clear on that. If you didn't ask or you didn't receive information of when the business owner is more likely to be there, it doesn't allow you to really plan it out effectively. So that doesn't make it a scheduled follow-up. But when you consistently ask and you generate enough of these, they are prime opportunities to create DMs being met. All right. So that's just a quick overview. You guys will get this PowerPoint along with the video to get a good refresher on this. Anyway, now, let's say, for instance, like I said, I walked in the first time, Brian wasn't in. I come back because Jenny told me that Tuesdays were the best time, or they were a preferred day, and mornings were they were preferred. So a hot lead is a business that you want to come back to within 2 weeks because you were given specific information that there was interest. Okay. Couple of things that you can do here. You have to ask questions. Remember, that's our tool, right? I'm not saying go ask 150 questions. I'm saying ask the right questions. Now, a couple of things you can ask is, right? So you can set clear expectations, right? Once you go into this. So let's say you meet the DM after you hit a scheduled follow-up, the guy is sweating, right? So Brian comes out because he was driving from Waycross to Jacksonville and driving 150 miles an hour and texting all whatever he's doing, right? But then he comes in and I catch him at a time where he is just super busy. I'm going to, of course, create a conversion by exhausting the scripts. However, in a perfect world, in a perfect world, it would go straight to that. But you have to understand that you have to pivot to ask questions now. Hey, listen, John, I'm going to be back in the area. I'm going to be in the area and I'm going to be here for the entire day. I usually work by appointment. I have some time available at this time and this date. So same day, same week appointments are going to be preferred. Now, if you can't convert, schedule a time. Hey, listen, I'm going to be working the next week. Is it all right if I stop by and we could take a little bit, take a look at what we've got then? You need to push for a next, bridge the gap between between the first interaction and what's coming up next. You got to bridge that gap. And the way you're going to do that is by asking the right questions there. Now, a hot lead, right? Let's say, for instance, you walk into a business, you see the DM, he is sweating, coming out of the warehouse, and he loves the 30-second commercial. He loved the rapport that we built with the research. He's just super slammed. He says, you know what, Bruce, why don't you come back next week? We'll take a look at getting you on my calendar. That's interest. That's interest. Or I did a presentation. It was awesome. We need to go back in the next couple of weeks because the person, the original DM wants to bring in the CFO, and we need to take a look at what we're going to do to get this all put together. That is interest. That's a hot lead. Let's make sure that we're putting it in there and logging it correctly, right? So let's go back here, right? So how to log this in Epic. We're going to talk a little bit more about this, but how to log in Epic is you need to make sure, right, when you click view record, you need to click edit. You need to click edit and then select the follow-up status, which I'll show you how that looks like here in just a moment to be able to log this. Okay. A warm lead is a business that gave you a specific month to follow up. Now, first and foremost, I always encourage everybody to exhaust the scripts, right? Exhaust the scripts, work the system, and put the pressure on it. There's going to be instances where you're going to be put in a position where you have to keep, businesses are so systematic at times, they just won't allow you to move forward until a certain time of the year. No worries at all. It's still an opportunity, but you need to classify it and organize your business in its respective layer for you to not forget about it. Epic will do a good job of reminding you as long as you're clicking the layers. So first and foremost, make sure you're exhausting the script when you get in there. Couple of good things you can ask, right? So let's say you've pushed it to the max and you've gotten it. Listen, Bruce, it's not something I want to look at right now. I'm trying to be respectful of your time. I'm trying to be respectful, but I just won't do it right now. Hey, listen, John, I get it. It's not something that's going to work out for you at this time. Would it be fair to say that we can reconnect in the next 30 to 60 days? I like to push for 15. It just depends, right? Yeah, that's fair. Okay. In the next 30 days, it's looking like we're going to be sitting in August. Do you prefer the beginning of the month or the middle of the month? What's that looking like? I'm asking more questions because I'm with the DM and I have to make sure that I'm generating a better lead here because I'm digging, right? I've got them right there. Why not generate a more accurate lead here? So, and then I ask him, I know I asked the gatekeeper already what his bad days were, but I'm gonna ask him the same questions again, directly, right? Would mornings or afternoons typically work better for you, John? And what are your bad days? I know for me, Fridays never work. Okay, excellent. So now I've got the power of you said, right? By having these warm leads worked effectively, the power of you said or you told me is so, so important. Don't downplay that. Business owners are usually people of their word. And if you're coming to them and letting them know that they told you to come at this time and you're following through with what you said you were going to do, it makes it mutual. It creates value there and they look for that. So remember, warm leads are very valuable. And it's just key to be able to classify them accordingly. Another good transition that I love to use is now, John, would it be fair to say that we can connect in the next 15 days? I love the word fair because, again, once I've pushed everything to the limit, they've rebutted me 3 to 4 times. And they're, you know what I mean? I still want to say, okay, would it be fair to say that we can reconnect on this in the next 15 days? Fair is a psychological word that allows people to just feel like, yeah, it lowers the defenses really well. So try to use that as you can when you're going into these conversations. It puts up a really cool way of building that rapport or that trust. Okay, so how to log hot and warm leads. So once I click edit, once you've clicked view record, you've clicked more, okay, you go down to where it says follow-up status. I've got it highlighted here in this black box, follow-up status. When I select that drop down, it's going to give me the hot follow-up. And then, of course, you've got the months that are available, right? So let's say, for instance, I did a presentation for Tara. Tara, we went through the presentation. She loved what I had, but her business is so systematic that she invited me to come in September so we can plan it all out, right? It's still a little ways out, but I got her blessing to come back. No worries at all. I'm going to go ahead and log it under that month because every single week I'm going to click those layers and make sure I'm working every one of my opportunities. I need to have something to indicate that my business is growing. That was another point that I made to Brian, and we're going to be landing the plane here soon, so stay with me here, is your new agent, because that's who we're thinking about here when we're talking about this as well, is when the new agent is coming to the office every Friday and all they see is blue and pink leads. They don't, and because it's what they see, everyone. It's what they see. If they can't visually see their business growing, then it puts them in a place of uncertainty. So this is also a strong tool for you for retention to keep your people bought into what the long-term results is. You're building, okay? You're not making $5,000 a week yet, but here's what you got coming through the pipeline. You're going to make big things happen. So stick around, right? So here's a story that I got for you. There's an agency director out of Kansas City that was an agent and a supervisor. There was a school district that he presented to that didn't want to do something until September. And this is the middle of March. Okay. He logged it as a warm lead. He kept going each and every week. And that one lead, it was over 150 employees. That one lead kept them bought in to the point where they did end up closing in September. Now he's an agency director. That is what initially got me bought in and truly convicted on this. To share that story is, look, those agents need something to keep them visualizing the vision in the future. So anyways, guys, that's how you log a hot lead and a warm lead. Let's make sure we're getting this out there to the field. So to recap what we talked about today, we talked about the purpose of all of this, right? We want to make sure that we're giving your people visual indications of the path towards the opportunity of a lifetime. Where should they be drawing their attention and their time to create that cash flow? We talked about clear expectations. When I can take a look at what I've got on my map and I can see that I've got referrals and appointments and everything else and hot leads and warm leads coming through the pipe, it's going to create those clear results. And so it's going to keep me bought into this process. We talked about planned prospecting. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. You need to be taking a look at how your people are building those layers or those routes using those layers. Productive habits. Making this habit or be a habit is going to create a ton. of momentum. And anyway, on this note, I did want to remind everybody about referrals. Referrals. That's another tool that we're going to use to drive this agency to 8.5, 9 million, 10 million is referrals. Just to remind you, 84% of business to business decision makers start the buying process through a referral. This was a article that was published in Forbes. You can actually, it's called The Power of the Referral. And something to remind yourself is that referrals have a 69% quicker closing cycle. So if you're looking at trying, if you're focused for quarter three, this is you and you want to get more closes in quarter three, asking for referrals all the time is going to be the key here to creating yourself success. So guys, look, we're going to be recognizing a lot of cool people that are moving the needle with the referrals and how we're logging this. And so, Brian, is there anything you'd like to add before we close out on this part of the process?
Mute yours on that side so it doesn't have a big echo. Yeah, guys. So this was a lot of information, like a 30-minute power nap, right? A ton of information. This is something I'm going to be going over with the ADs. I just want to get everybody exposed to it because it is about making your routes better routes, because we're in the business of growth, right? And so growth comes from our job is developing people so they can be self-sufficient and not be depending on us for everything. I mean, with a show of hands, you ain't got to raise them because I know they're out there. How many of you are tired of people going, what enrollment am I going to this week? And it's always, well, what have you closed? But what have we done to help them close those cases, right? What have we done to put it in front of them? And this will make a stronger route for quicker closes, less dependence on you, more independence on themselves, and we'll see the whole agency grow. So we'll be talking about it more in the AD meetings. We're going to have some breakouts with SAs and GAs over the next several weeks, but this is probably a good 8 to 12 week process to try to get it implemented. This is just the first time exposure to you. And then we'll slowly but surely break this down into bite-sized pieces. So besides that, yep.
You want me to go and train on the follow-up, the 5-step follow-up and talk about that? Because I know we talked about how to log follow-ups. What would you like for me to now move into the second?
I think if we can get them here on logging them, and then once we get them logged, then we can build them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
100%.
So
do a Q&A before we close
yeah,
out?
if you don't, I've got a 5:30 also. So I'm going to jump out and let him finish with a Q&A in case y'all have questions. I know it was a lot of stuff thrown at you, but again, this was just to expose you. ADs I'll be getting with y'all. Next layer will be GAs, next layer will be SAs, and Bruce will be helping me with that to kind of dive a little bit deeper with it. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll let y'all pop on them. I'll mute mine and let Bruce take it from here.
Boom. Come on, guys. All right, what do we got? Questions, comments, concerns? I know, listen, this is something that has done a lot of really good things, not only at the Knuckles agencies where I came from, but I'm working on Clint McLean's office, and it's done a big move for them as well. But anyways, what kind of questions, comments, concerns? Feel free to share them now, guys. I'll give, we got 4 or 5 minutes.
So I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Katya from Jacksonville. My question would be, you've marked them for follow-ups and something happens because something always happens, and you may have on that specific day and time, something else came up and you go to a completely different area. Usually those follow-ups disappear from Epic. How do you deal with that?
So great question. First and foremost, this should be a habit, right? Every week you should be reviewing your scheduled follow-ups, and it should be on your route that you're working that day, correct? So because you should be adding, so if you can't make it to that follow-up, all you have to do is go in, click edit, and set it for another future appointment or follow-up date, but you need your 4-week forecast to do that most accurately. Does that make sense? So listen, if it's a hot lead, okay, if it's a hot lead, nothing like unless you have an appointment, an enrollment. If it's a hot or a warm lead, you got to prioritize those, right? Now, a scheduled follow-up, if you've got to go do a claim or you've got, you got to go handle some late bill or whatnot, then, of course you got to prioritize those. But I will say that's why I wanted to be so specific on the definitions, because if they are in those layers, they are very important. You're going to create more cash flow for yourself.
Okay.
So absolutely. Good work. Good
Makes
work.
sense.
Yep.
Mm,
So
thank you.
every week, make sure you're funneling through those layers and clean them up and update them, because again, it's like you've got a nursery of leads in your Epic, right? It's your sales genie, right? It's your book of business. And if you never water them, or every now and then kind of prune them a little bit, they're just going to get out of control, or they may end up not becoming fruitful. So yeah, just update your leads. You worked hard for them. Make sure we're
Okay.
managing them correctly. Good question.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Good question. Thank you for that. Who else? Come on, guys. We got a couple more minutes. I want to help everybody out. What do we got? All right. I think Alice is on mute, or she's.
I'm talking to myself.
No.
It's me, Allison, Georgia.
Hey.
Augusta, Georgia here. Hi. Would there be a way of taking our final walk-in we just did and have it turned into our research box? That way, when we're looking and pulling from our sales Epic Salesforce, we see the current walk-in next to the lead and not the original walk-in. That's just an idea. That would be helpful for me if, when I'm pulling my leads out, if I seen the last walk-in I just did, those notes.
Yeah, I mean, I've always made it a habit to take a look at, the journal. I know that's one of the biggest things you can do currently that we have. I don't think it'd be a bad idea down the line to add something like that to make it easier for the user. But no, yeah, I mean, that's
Okay.
something that, but for right now, I think the journal is the best way to take a look at that, right?
Yeah, it is. Yes, sir. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that.
But
All
we
right.
have to put those notes like in the most recent, Alice. So like whenever we copy and paste them over to research, we put the most recent at the very top instead of at the very bottom. And then it just kind of filters down with your most recent activity in your research. I don't know if that's what you do, but that helps us.
You can do that. That's absolutely. Yep. If you want to do, some people, they don't mind copying and pasting and doing the extra clicks. So if that helps
Yeah,
for future
that's
use,
what I've been doing.
yeah, if that helps for future use, you can absolutely do that as well.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, we've come to a conclusion, our 5-minute Q&A. Listen, I'm super excited. I want to tell you all this. I believe in this team. I told Brian, I said, man, I'm truly blessed to have the opportunity to work with him and work with this team, because the market you're in, the leaders that we have, there's just no way that we can't be at 25 closes or 30 closes, let alone that, minimum a week. And so in the coming hours, in the coming days, Brian and I, as well as the other leaders, we're going to come up with a timeline. We're going to put a super cool number together, and we're going to put up a plan and a timeline in which we're going to try to accomplish this. Everybody working collectively. And I want to build a guiding coalition along with you guys to just drive this agency to help every one of you be the best you could be and reach financial freedom. So anyway, guys, look, thank you so much for your time today. I have nothing but love for you guys. If you need me, I'll be here. So y'all have a great day, y'all. All right. Happy 4th of July. See you guys.